Hey guys, I'm back with another sort of different video because I want to talk a bit about my YouTube coverage on Destiny 2 and a bit about the future of my YouTube channel in general. Despite of what I've previously said about covering Destiny 2, at this point, I'm actually pretty sure that I will not be covering this game on my YouTube channel. I know that to some of you, this may sound like a blessing from heaven, as I know that for a fact, not everybody necessarily wanted me to cover this game, and to others, it will be a disappointment, as I also know that a lot of you were pretty excited for me to go this route. So, the one question that you may have right now is, why? Why am I not going to cover this game like I said I would? And that is what I want to talk about right now for just a bit, because I actually do believe that Destiny 2 in itself is going to be a really good game. So, why not cover it? It's going to require some explanation. The first thing that started to turn me away from Destiny 2 is actually quite a big deal. It's the PvP multiplayer. Now, a lot of you are probably expecting me to rant about the lack of dedicated servers and all that stuff, but that's not actually what this is about, not at all. In fact, Bungie's peer-to-peer connection system could work out just fine, as it has in the past for many other games that they've created. Sure, dedicated servers offer a more fair environment where a player host is not at an advantage or at a disadvantage, but Bungie has had their ways around balancing this out in previous games that they've created, such as with Halo 3, where they reduced the amount of auto-aim that the host had to compensate for his better hit registration. Now, of course, I know that Destiny has had its problems with lag and that kind of stuff, but if they're saying they're gonna fix it, well, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on that one for now. So yeah, I don't really care about dedicated servers too much. My problem with the Destiny PvP is that there will be nothing in terms of skill-based progression. The Crucible will just be there, a 4v4 arena with different game types for players to play versus each other when they are done with the campaign. And seeing how Destiny 2's model will be very similar to the one that Destiny 1 has, with a campaign, a few strikes, and a raid for the PvE content, my best guess is that I myself, I'll be playing this, I'll be geared out and done with the PvE experience within just a few days, and then I'm going to play PvP. Unless, of course, there are some artificial boundaries, such as activities not being available until a certain date, for example, as they did with the raids, or certain activities only being available once a week, limiting the amount of loot that you can get. But even in those cases, I'll still be as strong as I can get just a few days into the game, which means that the vast majority of my playtime will most likely be in the PvP part of the game, in the Crucible. However, with no skill-based rankings, no leaderboards, no rewards for being with the top few percentages of the player base, I can see this getting very, very still very fast, much like I was pretty much done with Last Stand in the Division after just a few days of playing it, which also lacked all of the above. I can play a game for 11 or 12 hours a day, every single day, but there needs to be something to get. There needs to be some sort of top rating, some sort of highest rank tied to your skill, so that there's the motivation to keep improving. But without such features, well, what's the point of playing that much every single day, unless you, of course, have really nothing else to do, or for some reason really enjoy Destiny's PvP. Sure, I can make some videos, some tactics for each maps, you know, where players would spawn and how you would possibly spawn trap or spawn kill them, or what the best spots are to see enemies coming from as far away as possible, just general tips that other content creators in games such as, for example, Rainbow Siege make as well. But really, Rainbow Six Siege has a leveling system that's based on skill, and that's just one example. In Destiny, without such features, there is no point in really figuring all that stuff out, because if you win, well, good job, you won, but you're not really getting anything, right? You're not playing versus players of equal skill either, so even if you are pretty good at the game, you're most likely gonna be playing versus a lot of newer players anyway. So I'm looking at this, I'm looking at Destiny 2, and I'm asking myself, what am I buying? I'm buying a story experience, which will be fun for a few days, I'm sure of that. But I'm mostly buying a 4v4 arena shooter where characters have abilities and ultimates. But that arena shooter doesn't have the important stuff that an arena shooter should have, in my opinion. And so I started asking myself the question, is this really what I want to play as my main game? Of course, this must sound quite strange coming from me, as The Division is pretty much the opposite of a competitive shooter. And I played that for a year long, but The Division also had something that Destiny 2 doesn't seem to have, and that brings me to my second point in this video, which is the complexity. If you compare Destiny 1 to The Division, you will easily be able to tell that despite all its mistakes, all its flaws, and all the failures that it has, The Division is a way more complex game in terms of character stats and possible builds that players can create. Destiny is much more about, hey, get this nice gun, get this high level gear, and you'll be fine. Whereas a good or a bad build in the Division can be the difference between absolutely decimating an entire server full of players or getting one-shotted by a random NPC across the Dark Zone. Now, of course, that is a bit of an overstatement, especially after patch 1.4 that brought that a little bit closer together. But my point is that the Division has depth. You could do the math and figure out ways to create crazy, borderline broken builds that would send some people back to the checkpoints as soon as they came out. And that kept the game interesting for me. It kept me playing, kept me thinking, kept me busy with stuff. And I was kind of hoping that Destiny 2 would also go that route and open up a lot more in terms of complexity. But instead, what the developers decided to do is go for the opposite and limited the stuff that players could do with their builds even more. They, for example, now have to pick a set of perks and abilities as a package instead of allowing players to tweak that stuff around. And for someone like me, that's quite a big turnoff as well. It tells me that when my PvE experience is done and I've pretty much gathered all the weapons, or almost all the weapons, I just have to pick one, the one that's the best, the one with the highest DPS, the highest fire rate, or the highest per bullet damage, or, you know, whatever. And then just go with that, or go with that weapon set or that weapon class, and then just play PvP all day long with the same set, the same tools, in the same way, without actually gaining anything. Again, no skill-based matchmaking. So again, that just seems like an experience that's going to get very stale very fast. And besides all of that, there is yet another reason why I think I'm not going to cover Destiny. And this is probably the least important one, which is why I put it at the bottom of my list. But it is that the PC version of Destiny 2 is going to be delayed. It's not going to release at the same time as the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 version. When I heard that Destiny 2 was going to be available for the PC, it immediately got my full attention. I never played the first Destiny because, well, it did not come out on the PC platform. And now it did, so I wanted to jump into that franchise. And it's not just coming out for the PC. Bungie seems to be really putting a lot of effort in the PC version. Lots of options, which is great news. However, as I said, it's also going to release after the console version because it requires more work. There's a lot to be done, there's a lot to be added. And that in itself, that's also a very good thing. I don't mind them delaying it if that means they're going to take the time to polish it up properly. However, from a YouTube standpoint, that's terrible because it means that if I wouldn't pick up an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4 and get Destiny 2 there, I would simply not be able to compete content-wise with anyone else doing Destiny 2 on YouTube. As you know, everything that I would do, tutorial related or any of that kind of stuff, it would be Stone Age material by the time that I get to it. And that just doesn't work on YouTube. And also, I'm not gonna play my main game on a console. So yeah, if not for the PvP, because there's no skill-based system of any kind, if not for the creativity, because there will be a lack of unique and crazy builds, and if not for YouTube, because there's no way to compete content-wise with those that prefer to play the game on PlayStation 4, then why would I even cover this game to begin with? I'm not saying that the game will not be good. In fact, I'm sure it will be a blast for millions of players out there. And if the reviews are good, I'm probably going to pick up the delayed PC version myself to play through it with a few of my friends. For me, it just won't be that game that I can sink my entire life into, and for that reason, I think it's better to not base my YouTube channel around this game. So there's that. That's all I have to say really. For those wondering what I'm going to do with my channel next, well, I don't really know at this point. I'm back to before Destiny 2 was announced. I have a few ideas of what I could do, actually some Division related stuff as well. And I was this close, you can't see my fingers, but I was this close to coming back to the game last week, but then I saw what a train wreck of a patch 1.6.1 was, and I decided to sit it out just a bit longer. So yeah, we'll see what 1.7 brings us. As always, I will see you guys later, or like they say in the Netherlands, zie je later.